What's up, folks? Richie here. We're going to get right to it. This has been out for about a week now. Figure I'd let the dust settle a little bit on this one, absorb it a little bit. But we are talking about Bruce Springsteen's release of Nebraska, the re-release, Nebraska 82, the expanded edition. Let's talk about it. I'm going to kind of go over pros and cons. I'll be honest, a lot of pros. I don't think there's very many cons in this release, to be honest. So we're going to talk about it. Before we get going into that, again, like, subscribe, that way you can kind of know what's going on. And what we'll do now is I'll just show you a little bit of the inside and some B-roll I've got, so you can kind of see what's in there. But I'll talk to you a little bit about the release itself, the physical release, as far as what I have here, and then my take on how it's broken down and what's in there. Because overall, I think it's a really good representation of Bruce, his writing ability, what he was doing at that time, how it's presented here in this release here. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. Okay, so you saw what the inside of it looks like. That's just kind of a small representation. But honestly, one of the first, look, I got the LP release. There's a CD release you can get as well, right? First thing is this is like a coffee table book. This is actually, you can hear that, right? So it's got some weight to it. Eventually, this is going to get kind of roughed up. You can just kind of tell with the finish, and I've had it for a week, and you can kind of see some of the marks on it, but it is what it is, right? Inside, as you kind of saw earlier, I'll try to do this without breaking anything, but you can see how it kind of lines up. You've got LPs on both sides here. In the middle is the book, as far as like the hardcover book piece of it, and then you've got the Blu-ray disc right here. So, done really well, I think, as far as just how it's represented. I like it a lot. I'm usually pretty picky about these things, but I'm digging it. My only concern is that maybe down the road how the spine and the binding hold up, but it is what it is. I've had a chance to listen to all of it. I'm not going to go into, and I think disc 4 is the remaster. I hear subtleties. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's Nebraska. So we're going to probably not even talk about that one at all for the time being, but talk about the other 3 pieces of it. 4 LPs, at least what I have here, and I think it's 4 CDs, how it's broken down for the other sets with the Blu-ray. The first one's the Nebraska outtakes. Again, more of the acoustic type of outtakes that you get from Nebraska. LP number 2 is the Electric Nebraska piece of it. I'm probably going to eat these words. I'm calling BS on the fact that he didn't know that he had Electric Nebraska until just recently. I could be wrong. I just kind of... People have been talking about Electric Nebraska for a decade, if not decades, with what's been out there. I would think at some point you would go and look to see if it was there, not wait 40 plus years, if that. So 30 years, whatever it would be, when people started clamoring for it. But I could be wrong, and that's on me. But just my take on that. And then Disc 3 was a nice surprise. The Count Basie piece of it, the live piece of it, which was just him in the theater with the production crew and 2 other individuals helping out with some occasional background instruments. Well done. I think it kind of worked well. I've been to that theater before. The Count Basie Theater. Sometimes it's called the Hackensack Meridian Health Theater. I think at this point it changes names. If you're from New Jersey, I just kind of know it as the Basie. That's really it. So let's get into this. Let's go LP number one first. Here's how my thoughts are. All right. So again, book is laid out nicely. You've got each LP or CD. Well, I go with LP because I don't know how the CD one's going to look like. But you've got it broken down nicely with lyrics. Everything's in there, going through the songs. I might have showed it in the that B-roll earlier, but just to give you an idea, that's kind of. Whoops, there we go. Hopefully, there we go. So it's laid out nicely. I think they did a great job of this, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've gotten plenty of releases in the past where it's just the production I think is terrible as far as the physical quality of it, but this is great. I'll go through the tracks real quick just to kind of give you my thoughts. And I'm not going to review everything in great depth, but just, my thoughts on a few things. Again, LP1, Nebraska Outtakes, Born in the USA. I believe this is the exact same thing you heard when you got the tracks box set back in '98. Was that the start of, maybe it might have been track 1 on disc 2 or track 1 on disc 3. It's one of those. But it's cool. I would have been good for the Nebraska sessions, I think, but obviously that took on a life of its own as far as Born in the USA. You've got Losing Kind, which was to me, when I hear that, I hear the acoustic guitar of Wreck on the Highway from The River, and then you're starting to get the lyrics from Working on the Highway. So again, something that was in progress there. I'll be honest, Downbound Train, not a fan of it at all. It fits well where it fits with Born in the USA. That is a band type of song. It's a dark song. You needed all those elements to make it work. This version and the one on Electric Nebraska, not for me. Not even close. So that's my 2 cents on that. Child Bride, that was more of Working on the Highway being arranged, more of a Work on the Highway type of feel with the Working on the Highway lyrics, I believe, if I remember that correctly. Let's take a look. Because, we want to make sure I'm somewhat right with what I'm saying here, right? Where is it? Yeah, Child Bride looking like the same thing as far as... Well, I go back. You know what? Losing Kind was Wreck on the Highway type of thing. It wasn't the lyrics, though. But it was Child Bride that had the lyrics on as far as Working on the Highway. So Child Bride was more of going that direction. So keep that in mind. And then you've got Pink Cadillac, which it just drags. It's more of a haunting. It's not an upbeat type of thing. It drags. It goes on. It's going pretty dark there. The Big Payback, you're starting to hear some of that rockabilly type of sound that he's talked about. You hear it there, a lot of slapback echo and not a whole lot of delay, but the echo piece of it. Then you've got Working on the Highway, which is kind of what they were, had going on there. On the Prowl is just kind of like Jerry Lee Lewis, I guess, the rockabilly punk type of thing. Not for me. And Gun in Every Home could have made the Nebraska album, I think. Looking at it. Had more of like a Murder Incorporated type of feel with the lyrics, I guess. So yeah, correct myself on that. Losing Kind was more of a Wreck on the Highway type of feel, music wise. But it's not until you get the Child Bride where you've got the lyrics from Working on the Highway starting to make an appearance there. And I'm just kind of curious now. If we look at the Working on the Highway lyrics, wherever it might be, where is it? Child Bride. Oh, it's on this side. Yeah, you're kind of getting, so it's kind of like, you got the lyrics, you can kind of see Working on the Highway being arranged in a couple different ways, and he went with it on Born in the USA, which I thought was the right way to go as well. So that's LP1. So I know I'll get drilled for giving you some wrong info on the lyrics there. Nothing new in my life. So let's take a look at this too now. All right, disc 2, LP2, you've got the Electric Nebraska sessions. I told you earlier I'm calling some BS on him not knowing that he had this in the vault. I think if you look at it, and I wasn't sure on the timeline of this, but I had it flip-flopped. I really thought Electric Nebraska probably came first, and then he kind of retooled everything for the true Nebraska sessions that we heard, but it's actually the other way around. He did Nebraska. I guess he wanted to give it a shot with the band to see what would happen. They had 3 or 4 days in April of '82 to work on it, and it's not, it is the band, but it's not the full band. There's no horn. Clarence, I don't think, is mentioned anywhere in here at all, so there's no horn. And then when you do have the band playing, I don't want to say sporadic, but you've got Max on drums. You can hear the vocals from Stevie. Roy and Danny are in there kind of doing their thing, almost like Tunnel of Love type of stuff where they're just kind of here and there when needed for the most part, if I'm kind of looking at this correctly. But I had to take a step back because when you hear Electric Nebraska, you're thinking E Street Band, music to the walls type of thing. It's not really that. I do like the Nebraska version I hear there as far as the full band. Kind of gives it a different vibe, vibe, so to speak. Atlantic City is really good. And you can see how that morphed into what you heard maybe on the tours that came out after that. But I think that's a great version with the E Street Band. Mansion on the Hill was okay. Again, you're going Johnny 99, kind of more of that rockabilly sound. Downbound Train, no, just not a fan of that one at all. Again, personal preference. I think it just lends itself way better to the Born in the USA release, which is probably why you don't see it here. It just didn't vibe. Open All Night, kind of what you're getting as well. You got that you've heard already. I do like this version of Born in the USA with the band. It has kind of more of a guitar intro riff, not really that whole synthesizer kick you in the face opening. So it's a little bit different here, and I like it. I think it's good. So kind of wish they might have done that more often over the years. Maybe they did, but I don't remember hearing any of that. And then Reason to Believe I thought was pretty good too. So I think in a way you kind of realize why maybe Electric Nebraska never, it was there as far as I'm concerned, but why it never really made an appearance until now. You think full band, but when you hear full band, it's like, oh. I was almost underwhelmed, not in a bad way, but just underwhelmed with how much the band was there or wasn't there. And again, it's just my 2 cents. And that's why I think Nebraska is Nebraska and the way it should be. And that's why he released it that way. So, I think it's how it should be. So I'm good with all of that. Disc number 3, let's get into it. Okay, disc number 3 is considered, or at least section number 3 is considered LP number 3 and the Blu-ray, at least in this, the way it's kind of set up here. And this is the live recordings at the Basie in Red Bank, New Jersey, earlier this year, I guess. I think it was done well. I think it was the only way to do it. I'm glad he didn't do it with an audience because it just kind of takes away from, again, he recorded in Nebraska in a bedroom in a rented house. I think it was Koltznick, right? So it's just him by himself. And you could, there's only so much by himself he can get trying to do a recording like that for, current time. So he had the production crew, whoever he needed, and that was it. So I'm glad he did it this way just to kind of give it that vibe. I think he played it as close as he could to the original recording. I don't know if it was still in this, like Nebraska and some of these other songs on the original release, the tuning was off. And I read somewhere that actually, I think when they mixed it down, it went into, however they mixed it down, the speed of the tape was off too. So it kind of altered what you hear. So maybe that's why some of these songs aren't quite in tune when you play it with the guitar. So I'm assuming maybe these are more in tune with him, or at least, standard tuning or something along those lines. But it worked well. I liked it a lot, actually. It was good to see him play these. I'm not a fan of when he does vocal arrangement, kind of like that growl, that raspy voice. There's certain parts on the live piece of this where you can hear him channeling the smoother side, if you want to call that, of his voice from Nebraska. I don't remember exactly which tunes they were, but I was sitting actually last night watching it again. And it just, you close your eyes and you can hear the original Nebraska recording in a way, if that makes sense. So, and again, it just, same running order as the album. I enjoyed it. So, and I don't typically rewatch live stuff over and over. I've watched this 2 times already. It's just kind of cool to hear how he's doing it. It's a little, I don't think it's different, but it's definitely a different vibe in a way, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And then you've got the final disc here, which is number 4. And 4, there's not much to really say about that other than it is just the remastered Nebraska, basically. I'm not good at looking or listening to things that are remastered. You can kind of hear this a little bit better, that better. Unless I'm listening to things side by side, and it's hard for me to pick up on these things, but I'm sure people can hear the differences. So I'm kind of curious if you've heard anything that sounds different. Sorry about the chair. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things, I guess. So Well worth it though. I think I paid about 120 with shipping off of Amazon for this. I know the CD release is probably about 70 or 80, whatever it was. And again, I went with this because I've got Amazon Prime Music, so I can just go listen to it digitally if I wanted to. I wanted something kind of more, kind of more like a souvenir in a way. But you can also get like a coffee table book out of it, which is, I think it's cool the way it's put together. Over time you're going to see this getting dinged up, and it's kind of like, well, might as well get it dinged up now, I guess, if I'm going to do it. So, I enjoyed it. It may not be for everybody, but this is something I liked. I thought it was a good purchase. I think it's a good moment in time, not only for Nebraska, but to bring it into, current times as well. So it's worth it in my opinion. Just my opinion. And I'm not as big of a Bruce fan as I used to be, but I still appreciate a lot of the music he's got out there. Grew up with a lot of it, and this was sort of my introduction to Bruce in a way back in the early '80s. Born in the USA was a big one, but I remember Nebraska kind of leading up to it. But I liked it, and you could tell that he did a lot of writing this time frame. Where those 81, coming right off the River Tour of 81, I think he started recording in the winter of 81 into the winter of 80, I guess fall of 81, winter 81 to winter of 82 on this. And a lot of these things that, we're not talking about now probably were written and ended up on the Born in the USA album and outtakes. He did a lot of writing back then. I want to say probably about 80 songs, somehow were crafted one way or the other. Just, you eventually saw, but not all of them probably. So I think there was a good amount of music back then. Good snapshot in time. Makes you wonder what else could be coming down the road. Maybe Born in the USA, which I think could be interesting as well to kind of show you the other side of the commercial success. Who knows? I mean, a lot can happen. So my 2 cents, again, I rambled on, but that was the whole point of this. So enjoy it, all right? We'll see you soon.